Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And how do I stop judging my ex? How do I stop judging my breakup? How do I stop judging my ex's new boyfriend? How do I just stop judging people? And just think about it right now. Me wearing this hat, doing the thumbnail with this hat, wearing the hat on the top of my head the way I am right now with a little dirt smudged on here. This vintage old school Oakland A's hat, which I'm personally not even a huge fan of the A's. I respect them because they're from the Bay Area, but uh, just what did you think when you first saw it? You're like, why don't you put your hat on regular? Why do you have a hat on? You shouldn't be wearing a hat in a video like this. The mind judges, right? The mind is constantly judging. I don't know if there is a way for you to turn off the judging switch. I think that people are judging and they just don't always reveal it. And someone goes, "Oh, that person never judges." They probably are at some level, at some point. And judging, if you really think about it, right? Judging is measuring people to your values. So you're what you're doing is you're saying, for example, I just spelled this wrong. You're measuring people at your values as if your values are the rules. And like right now, wearing this hat the way I am right now, it's there's a majority of people that would watch this video and go, "What the hell are you wearing the hat like that for? That's not your style. That's not what you wear." And the hat's a little bit dirty and whatnot. The point is, how quick were you to judge just by looking at that on appearance? I've talked about this in other videos before. What maybe the hat means something to me. Maybe the hat has some sentimental value. Maybe the hat I've had for 25 years. I don't know. But the the human brain just does this. It does it with things we don't like, but they don't measure up with our values. So if you're the type of person that never wears a baseball cap, or you're the type of person that would wear your cap like that, right? You might go, "Oh, that's a little bit cooler. Yeah, I could see you wearing it like that." These kinds of things, when you look at them on a different light, it's the same thing you're doing with your, how's it going, Dylan? It's the same thing you're doing with your breakup. And the reason I gave three different questions here is because people are doing it at different levels, right? They're judging, and some people it seems that they judge more, but I think they just reveal more. They show their hand and they tell people exactly what they're thinking, and they're constantly judging. And then someone goes, "Wow, this person's really stereotyping, or this person's really this." Generalizations, stereotypes are always going through people's minds. Whether they reveal them or not is a totally different thing, right? And so, what's up, Mary? And so, where I'm going with this is judging your ex and judging their situation. It's actually natural. It's actually a natural thing. And the simplicity of, like I said, right now, making this video and wearing a hat where I usually don't wear a hat and it's unfamiliar to most people, they would say, "Why the hell are you wearing a hat?" Right? Right on, Rockstar. Um, Oakland A's, one of the older, now they have 15 emblems for every team or whatever. But the reason I'm wearing the hat, Mary, if you didn't hear earlier, is I'm just saying, like, in the beginning, and it depends on, when you break it down, what if I wore the hat like this? What's up? You go, "What the hell? What are you doing?" Right? If I wore the hat like this, right? Fresh Prince of Bel Air, you go, "What are you doing, man? It looks silly." Number one, the judgment comes from the place that the judgment comes from the place that, um, for you, it's unfamiliar if you've watched my videos before, to see me in a hat, period, let alone to wear it this way. But also, you're characterizing, well, only a certain type of person will wear their hat like that, and you're not that kind of person, right? And isn't that interesting though, that if I didn't bring that to your attention, you'd be going, "Fucking take the hat off," or you'd be like, "Oh, that's a sick hat." It's like 2455 rock stars. Like, I'm a fan of the A's, so he's gonna have a little bit of a bias. Like, that's a sick hat, or that's a cool hat. Other people are gonna look at the way you're wearing the hat. Other people are gonna look at, like I said, the hat's, it's a little bit old, so it's a little dirty, right? Someone else can go, I didn't even notice the hat. When you're going through the breakup, how much do you scrutinize things, right? And ask yourself this: if you're in that situation, how much do you scrutinize just about everything, right? How much do you judge just about everything? Now, in my own life, and being a coach and being a teacher for years, being a teacher really is judgment, right? You're judging people regularly. You're giving them scores and points and telling them if they did good on something. To me, it's one of the hardest to sometimes worst part of the job, because I'm just giving you my opinion, and then you have to sit there and go, oh, this is, I did really bad on this. Well, that's what I think, especially if it's a writing paper or something like that, whether it's a story or something. But what you're doing, right, what you're doing when you judge your ex is you're extremely, extremely biased, because your emotions are high. And the emotions could be different. It could be anger, it could be sadness, it could be regret, it could be, was it regret? What would regret be as an emotion? Um, Regret would be, I guess, guilt. Yeah. And when you, are you a teacher, Rockstar? Out of curiosity? Um, no, you are judging. And well, here's the thing. First of all, I'd have to ask, are you a teacher? But I would say that you still have the power to make the test. If you're following a strict curriculum that has A, B, C, D type test, okay, right? It's pretty cut and dry. If you're teaching something such as creative writing, which I've taught, or public speaking, then it's all opinion. Okay, no problem. And I welcome your opinion or your disagreement with the analogy. But what I'm saying is, when it's more creative style work, then it is judgment, right? It is your judgment based on your own set of criteria. Now, certain curriculums are very rigid and very cut and dry. Where, for example, 2455 Rockstar. For example, I took a real estate exam years ago for, California state real estate license, and it was 150 questions, and I believe we had to get 70% correct, if I'm correct. It was I think it was a multiple choice test. Now, multiple choice tests, you're either wrong or you're right. There's not really any judgment. They're telling you what the correct answer is, and then you have to pick it out. What I'm saying is, when you teach certain classes and you're reading someone's story or their essay, 15 teachers, 15 teachers can read the same story and give a different score based on, oh, I judge more people on grammar, or I judge people more on creativity. You follow me? So what's okay, Jay? Now, going back to judging your ex, a lot of times, not all the time, a lot of times when you eventually do break up, how's it sound, by the way, Mary? Um, when you do break up, the judging gets a jolt of gasoline on the fire, because you suddenly don't know the ex that you were with, because you never expected them to break up, if that makes sense. So then when you're breaking up and you're straining through the moments and the stories and what's going on and all that other stuff. And like I always tell people, write your story out and get into writemac.com, um, because that's probably your first step on getting clear on things. You have to think, like, where am I just judging? And there's some people that's all they're doing, because it's extremely convenient to make their case or state their case on the breakup, and to state why things happened in the way they did, and whatever flavor of hurt that they're feeling, they will shape the narrative or the story to that. And then Where judgment really comes is if your ex is with someone new. And if your ex is with someone new, right, it's tough. It's tough because if you have any information or knowledge on that person, is it possible for you not to judge who they're with? I mean, is it possible? I don't know. So because I've noticed now when someone's got an ex, especially men, when it's a woman with someone new, I think it's I could be wrong on this, but I'll get your opinion, May and Mary. If you and let's ask Rob and let's ask Jake. So we got enough on deck to get an opinion on this. If you have an ex, and I think this happened to you, Rob, that your ex, you knew there was someone else. I believe it was an ex-con. Um, you did judge the guy, right? I mean, and here's I'm not judging you for judging the guy because I think it's just human nature. I don't think it serves you. I think it hurts you. I think the more information you know about your ex's new partner, it doesn't serve you. So I'm not saying you've been cheated on, Mary. I'm saying that your ex and you broke up and they're with someone new. Doesn't have to be right away. Doesn't have to be this rebound or monkey branching term. It could be 2 months later, 3 months later, and you're still single, which is the part that bugs the fuck out of you subconsciously. But there was someone new. They seem really happy, and you somehow think, "Wow, this person's not very good for them. Wow, this person doesn't make a lot of money. Wow, this person doesn't look as good as I do. Wow, this person, right?" And that at some level is straight judgment. Ricky Henderson was my favorite player when I was a kid. Um, Technical difficulties with the AC here. There it goes. Is it judging or comparing? Good question, Jay. Good question. Um, and those could probably fall under a similar umbrella. I think there is comparing, but I think the judgment comes in uh, when you suddenly look at the person as being someone you know. I would definitely say it's a combination of both in most cases. But if it's someone you don't know, right, and you just have bits and pieces of the puzzle, and then you're like, oh, this guy's a great athlete. He makes a lot of money. But is he a good listener? Is he good in bed with his girlfriend, right? I mean, this came up a while back in a live stream. Someone was saying like, "Oh, women just go out with these kinds of guys because of this, this, and this," and I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And then some woman came on the live stream and was like, "Look, if the intimacy is good, you guys aren't even thinking about that." And everyone's like, "Yep, that's true." So, so what I'm saying about this is that I don't know if you can fight the judgment. I don't know if you can eliminate it. If it comes into your stream of consciousness, if it comes into your arena, if it comes into your vision, or if you're I think it's vindictive of an ex to give you information on who they're dating. I honestly do, because I've been in a situation before where I broke up. The person I broke up with, they actually broke up with me, but it was on semi to good terms. It was a long distance thing, and we were still in contact. We were cordial, and we would talk like once every month or once every 2 months. And she had met someone new, and it didn't bother me because I'd met someone new too. But I was quite happy with who I met and who I was seeing, and I could tell she was conflicted by it. She was in a rebound situation, and I listened, and then I said, I care about this woman still. I still have feelings for her, and I don't want to talk about. Yeah, I'm doing really well with the person I'm seeing. Oh, she's been great, because I know it had hurt her. And I know any of that information, she'd think to herself, well, how long have you guys been together? And you just unpack and you unwrap this whole different ball of wax. And I thought that would be bad intentions. to talk about someone new I'm with. I'd rather just know how your job's going, how school's going, and how things are going in your life. If you want to mention your boyfriend to me and it doesn't bother me, I have a choice to listen to that or not, right? So going back to this, the answer to if you're feeling like if you're really looking long and hard at this and you're like, I have to stop judging my ex's new boyfriend or girlfriend. Okay. This could be other ways. How do I stop judging my breakup? Judging your breakup is totally different because that's the moments and the things that transpired to make that happen. How you do that is I highly recommend you write out your story and do a live coaching session with myself or some other breakup coach and just get really clear on what happened at the end and why. And I unpack that and I ask a lot of good questions and do different things. Someone else might do it a different style, but I would make that attempt to get really clear on that moment and what story you're telling yourself and get to a point where you go, I didn't really mess up. This was just a breakup. It probably had to happen. You got to have some kind of frame on the story that you can live with and move forward. If you're sitting there at the end of the breakup and you're doing shoulda, coulda, wouldas, you're asking the same questions, trying to get different answers, which is common. Well, then it's time to talk to someone that's a professional that has some experience, try a few different things, stop just going to family and friends that are going to project their feelings or their past relationship onto you. And full disclosure, you can meet a family or friend that's really helpful because their situation was similar, but they're usually far and few between because they're not specialized in this. A lot of people these days don't have time or don't have the ability to actually intently listen. Think about this for a moment. How many people do you talk to in a day? I don't know, at work, in your family, that while they're talking to you, they pull out their fucking phone and they start scrolling. Or the conversation dies for 1 minute, they pull out their phone and they start scrolling. It's just it's something that irritates me, but at the same time, it's just part of life. It's human nature right now. It's 2020. It's the times, and you're sitting there and you want to pour your heart out and you want to talk about your relationship. If someone's bored with it, they don't really have time for it. People aren't all built to listen to relationship problems. You don't necessarily need to be a PhD. You don't necessarily need to be a therapist for 25 years to do this. You need to have some wisdom. You need to have some background. You need to have gone through a couple breakups. And then you need to have the ability to actively listen, ask good questions, and say to yourself, I'd really like to help you with this. Right? And what friends do a lot and family members, they just want to make you feel better. Or some of them want you to make you feel worse because they're in a bad place in their life too. Or they're tired of hearing about it. Yes. Right? And so if you're judging the breakup over and over again, then talk to someone like myself. Talk to another breakup coach, write your whole story out. And even if it's 2 months, 6 months, 8 months down the line, get really fucking clear on that part of it. Because you can unpack that completely. You can, and that's what you do. You unpack it, you take everything out because you're layering everything. It's unorganized in your mind, the events and the feelings. By writing out the story beginning to end and then going through things, taking it out of the suitcase and going, all right, do I want to keep that for the future or do I kind of want to let that go? Okay, do I want to keep that? Now, judging your ex just as an individual, right? Oh, she drinks too much. Oh, she's been going out and partying. This is a common theme, right? That's her prerogative once she's single. Now you love and care about that individual and you hate to see them becoming that kind of person. But once they're single, you do not want to be attached to any information involving who they are becoming or what kind of activities they're partaking in if you still have feelings for them and they're completely happy with who they are and where they're at in life. And you're like, this is a fucking train wreck. I've seen this many, many times in live coaching sessions. Someone will go on and on and on and on about, and Rockstar, 90 days is fine. If you're still having trouble, send it in. Let's do a live coaching session. I'm telling you right now, I'm at the peak of my coaching career as far as helping people out. I haven't had one person say at the end of a live coaching session, yeah, I'd like my money back, or yeah, this wasn't helpful or useful. I ask the question every time, and every time someone says, wow, I didn't look at things that way. Because if you're still having trouble with it 90 days later, first of all, it's not unnormal. You're not crazy. You're just hurting. You need a different perspective on how you're looking at it, right? It's not going to cure you, but it'll help steer you in the right direction. It's like I say, you might be going, it's like you're lost in a fucking forest, right? And you're like, oh, can someone just fucking airlift me in a helicopter back to safety? No, I'm the guy that you get dropped down and I give you a compass and a map and I go, I think if you go this way, or this way, you'll be out of the woods. But I'm not going to fucking put you in the helicopter because the journey is part of the healing. If I just grabbed you, threw you in the helicopter and go, hey man, I'm going to take you back to safety, you're just going to get back home and you're going to go, oh, I just want to call my ex and tell her that I'm okay. Oh, I just, I still want to do that. If you go through those paths and make it through those woods and make it through the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys, but you're on the right path. Now, when you get done with that, you got a story to tell. You build some character. And you could say, oh, that guy Mac just helped me out with a compass and a map. And along the way, I also found someone else that helped me and did this. But he just helped me get on the right path. Someone had told me that before. They go, you didn't cure me or anything like that, but you definitely showed me some light at the end of the tunnel. And that's big, actually, right? That's a big part of it. And so going back to the other part, right? The best thing you can do to stop judging your ex is write out the faults. Okay, like, all the things that they're going to be doing, write them all out, and then go, do you want to just let go of this? Do you really want any of those qualities in a partner? Do you see them changing anytime soon? If the answers are no, what are you chasing? I mean, you're not going to go back, and all you're doing is validating why they fucked up. Oh, they fucked up. They're not with me anymore. They really fucked up. They're down a really fucked up path. Yeah, well, they're not holding your hand. And I've been through this where I was like, wow, my ex is like, what they're doing and their actions right now, they're really doing bad things, and I can't believe she's become this way. And you get to a point, it's like, but you guys are done, right? That individual no longer wants advice or your opinion on things. They're single, so and you're letting them go. And if you really think about it, are you better off? Do you want to be with someone long term that has those kind of things that you're judging? Now, the last part, how do I stop judging my ex's new boyfriend, girlfriend, or we could say partner? And the best way you can do this is not know about it. I remember someone going, hey, do you want some info on your ex? No. It was very clear to me, naturally. It was very clear to me. No, I don't want it. No, a friend of mine just saw her. I go, I don't want to know. I don't want to know, because I know deep down I care too much. I know that my opinion is going to be biased. I know that I can't look at it rationally, and it's going to hurt me probably, whatever it is. So right now, with the landscape of social media, everyone thinks that they can't avoid this, and it's complete horseshit. I don't use that word often, but this applies, because you have full power to block someone. You have full power to go on a social media fast. You have full power to go, yeah, maybe I'll just take a break from these IG accounts. Someone will go, oh, but I need it for my business. Is there a way that you can, because people do this all the time. Oh, well, I blocked them, but I can go check their account out anonymously. Or they come back to me. We did a live coaching. We unpacked everything. They go, yeah, I'm going to stop looking at them on social media. And then the idea that they had the availability to do it one night, one desperate, lonely, shitty night, you're weeping, you're crying, you're feeling it. And you're like, you know what? I'm just going to check out their Facebook feed. Or I'm just going to check out their IG account. You go to the account, you see a picture, and they're rose petals and wine glasses with a new guy, or they're just taking a picture with someone and they look so happy. Just the fact that they look happy without you, or this is a great one, minus the picture, they leave a quote up and someone goes, oh, they left up this quote that said, all paths lead to now, and journeys are crazy, but my journey is better. And this journey is going to be better down the road. I'm just making this shit up, but you know where I'm going with it, right? And then they go, I think they were saying that about us. Well, you think? Think doesn't go very far in the facts world, because what you just did is you just hoped and wished it was about you, but then you're thinking, was it about me? And now all of a sudden you're entangled in a spider's web going, should I call them? Are they thinking about me? And you just don't know. And you don't know what those words meant, because again, social media doesn't give you any of, the full story, right? And so number one, you need to erase that access to your ex's new life, to your ex's new partner, and you want zero. You don't want like, oh, well, I can still leave this avenue open, or I kind of still want to check on them. No, zilch. You don't want any access. And one of the better ways that someone's done this before, they redid all their they had their friend redo all their passwords on their IGs, Facebook, whatever you guys use out there, the Snapchat or whatever. And then they said for a month, which a month doesn't mean anything. They just said for a month, I'm going to stay off social media, and then I'll ask my friend for the passwords. And if I have a desperate night, I'm going to tell my friend, hey, look, I don't want you to give me the passwords for 30 days. All right, let me get into the comments and see what's going on here. Hey, Mac, thanks for the lives. No problem. What's the hat you're wearing? A's. I'm a fan of the A's. Are you from the Bay Area, Rockstar? I'm tired. Dylan been driving from Georgia to Myrtle Beach. Just got here. Sounds fun, Mary. In my opinion, a teacher. Okay, we talked about this. I hate regrets, and yes, guilt. Guilt's a tough thing. That's a snakeskin you got to shed. No, sir, I'm an instructor in my profession, but not a teacher. My name is Jay, by the way. Okay, Jay. In the case, I noticed that hat was new, but then I noticed the glasses, and I was like, wait, did he have glasses before? I don't wear them all the time. They're actually blue light glasses. That's why it has a reflection. So it's a little bit, when you're on the computer a lot, getting blue light, you can Google this and look it up, really affects your eyes. So sometimes I wear them from time to time. Why didn't I notice those glasses, and was the glasses on and on? See, and I don't know if that's judging or it's just puzzling, but I'm just saying this is how the brain works when something's unfamiliar. And so the unfamiliarity creates questions. And what happens when you're in a breakup? Your ex becomes unfamiliar in their actions. And so this is where questions start rolling and rolling and rolling, and you don't have them there to answer them. Like right now, you can ask me about the hat and you can ask me about the glasses, but you might go, would it be rude to ask about the hat or say something? I took creative writing in school. It was extra program for special kids. So I was lucky to be in that class because we got to go to UCI to learn as kids. It was so cool. Creative writing is, that's one of the best classes. I actually teach the hero's journey as one of the core parts of the class. That makes total sense. Well, thanks, bud. I like to make sense. Oakland A's, that's right. Rob, what up? ATL. Hey, Rob, I've never been cheated on, so I don't know the feeling. Just saw a video recently on Ricky Henderson on his trade to the Jays back in the 90s. I actually remember that. Like I said, he was one of the first autographs I got when I was a kid. I really liked Ricky Henderson. Is it judging or comparing? We talked about this. Honestly, Mac, I don't go on social media except for here, so I won't hear or know anything about my ex's new love. Don't know, don't care. Is that a good thing? I would say yes. It's a great discussion. I haven't found a way to fight it. Maybe you shouldn't look at it as a fight. Because a fight, if you don't identify things well with fighting, some people really get worked up and get excited about a fight. Some other people look at it as a negative. So maybe you need to reword how you're looking at it, how you're going to deal with it, or how you're going to combat it. What have you been doing about it rather than just accepting it? What have you been looking for solutions, Jay? Wait, one time my brother saw my ex engaged and told me, and ever since then I became like that. Don't know, don't care. You're better off that way. Yeah, I mean, exes from a long time ago, I've heard are with someone or something like that through the grapevine or something. It doesn't affect me because it's been so long ago. And I've had new girlfriends since and whatnot. I think that what really affects people, to be honest, is if someone's moved on or they're with someone new and you don't feel like you have someone new, right? And someone will go, well, I don't need a man or I don't need a woman or something. That's true. But I mean, it feels like there's a void and they filled that void. All depends on how it ends. Very true, Rob. Sometimes they will throw the new dude in your face just out of spite. And that, if they do that, Rob, to me, that says a lot about their character. That says a lot about their character, their lack of care. And again, would that be someone you want to go back to? Family and friends won't work unless they have experience in the field of these topics. I absolutely agree. And most of my exes, I guess, I got lucky. They're not assholes, so they don't mention their new love. Well, I mean, I always think of it this way, Mary. I don't think who you end up with is luck. I think that you have a choice in that, and your relationships are partially a reflection of who you are. And so if you have, I look back at mine and I've had some ups and downs and different things, but I've had really good relationships. I've regarded all of them as good people. As simple as that sounds, do you know what I mean by that? They're just good human beings overall. Um, they generally do the right thing. And so I look at that like, well, that's a reflection of how I look at myself also. You're not willing to accept certain behaviors in other people that you don't have in yourself. And so that's a reflection of you, Mary. Take a bow. Oh, they're tired of hearing about it. I've absolutely got to send you my story, and I'm 90 days in. Go for it, bud. Done deal. Is True Mac is very informative and helpful? Yeah, me and Mary have done a few coaching sessions. I think they've went well. Sometimes we know the answer. We just need someone to confirm or right. Absolutely would agree. Reassurance from someone you respect is actually gold, right? I've had situations where I'm like, hey man, you're doing the right things. It's just not going to come about right away. Hey, and it might not feel good in that moment, but sometimes people just need to go, do you think I am? Right. I'm in. Just bring the compass map and the beer. I'll get you a 0-0 Heineken, right? Don't know, don't care. You're absolutely right. Not knowing is much better than knowing, overthinking, judging. And what people don't realize, what's up, Daniel? What people don't realize is that there's a lot of people out there with social media now, and they're like, oh, I can't. I can't take them away from, my Facebook. Then they would think this. I can't do this. It's like, no, you won't. See the difference? There's a difference between saying won't and can't. And you absolutely have power. When you start thinking about how can I eliminate my access to judging them and knowing what's going on with them and make a list, your brain will come up with all kinds of really good ideas that'll somehow go, oh yeah, I could do this, this, and this. Because a lot of times, to be honest, I'll give you a recommendation, and just being a human being or being slightly stubborn, you'll go, yeah, I don't want to do that. Not everyone, but some people are like this. And I'll go, well, can you come up with a better idea to get the same result? And that's what happened that one time when the person said, well, I'm not going to do what you said and just stop social media. I'm going to actually have my passwords changed by my friend. It seemed a little bit more complicated, but it was his idea. So he felt better about it. Cool. Same result. And the same guy somehow got access to his ex like 3 weeks later. And it actually absolutely brought him down to ground zero. And I was like, that's exactly why you don't want to be on there. Of course, it's about me. No, sir. I'm in South Louisiana. Do you do some duck hunting? How's your day been, Mac? It's been good. Had a good breakfast. Three eggs, a nice croissant, some cold brew coffee. Did some writing on the book. Really just trying to get it organized. Got a lot of different thoughts on that. If you guys have any chapters, or if you guys can think of any, you guys and gals, excuse me, if you have anything that you're like, hey, the way I'm approaching this book on breakups is each chapter should answer a question or have a general topic that's fully unpacked. So, for example, a lot of people generalize after a breakup. I grew up duck hunting too. Might be a surprise to you, bud. First bird was a sprig. If you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. The great, what's his name, Henry Ford. Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, those aren't the ducks that they hunt. South Louisiana is a great duck hunting. I've never been there, but that's where that TV show's from, I believe. Sounds like if you had fun and busy day, Mac. I'm talking to my secret admirer at the moment. Well, good for you. Why is it a secret admirer? Like I said, if you guys have anything that you can suggest that you don't think is answered on the internet, or you haven't found in a book, or maybe I haven't talked about, that's an interesting topic about a breakup. You got Mary's attention. That's a classic open loop, right? Well, who's your secret admirer? Like that's just a snippet of the story, right? That's tempting, bro. That's tempting. Um, I'll keep that in mind. And you send in your story if we do a live coaching session, which isn't a prerequisite for me coming out. But I actually had a client that was in Arkansas, um, and he was a big duck hunter. He had a club. He was a part of a mallard. Uh, I forgot what it was, but I mean, they shoot a lot of mallards there, I believe. I don't want to get too into duck hunting right now, but if you want to do a live coaching or something, we can talk about that. But yeah, I mean, my father's a huge. I mean, that's the one passion he has is waterfowl. When it comes to any breakup advice answers, can you give clear-cut examples demonstrating them? Most authors don't do that. In some ways, I see how it can confuse some people without them. Great point. And thanks, Rob. I really respect your opinion and your insight, bud, because I know you read a lot and I know you've come across a lot of this. So um I am doing that. I think I know what you mean too. It's like if you look at the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I'm sure you read, it's extremely simple information. Just the fact that he tells few compelling stories that are simple to follow is what conveys the information better. Is that right? Would you agree with that? I'm not saying I'm copying, uh, but you look at some of the classic books and it's the stories that carry the day. Yeah, and like Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's extremely simple information when you think about it, right? It's not convoluted, and he uses stories that are when he was a kid, and the stories are very simple. So I'm going down that road. Where I'm going with this though is I'm sharing a lot of my own stories, but then I'm gonna twine intertwine in there some stories based on some true events, kind of thing. But yeah, your point is well took. When it comes to any breakup advice answers, can you give clear cut examples demonstrating them? I'm gonna make a note of that because if you think about it, when I talk to people too, I can tell them a point, but until I put it into context of an analogy or a story, it doesn't resonate, right? Yes, Robert Kiyosaki is the author of that book. Um, And you know what I think's underrated about books is, and I'm not going to share the title idea I have right now. I might have told some people. Um, is the title counts, right? Like Rich Dad Poor Dad's an extremely simple one, but it also catches your eye. Like, what does that mean? Like the 4 Hour Work Week was one of the most brilliant titles of a book because everyone wants to work 4 hours a week, right? Sorry you say the title so fast. Was it hard for me? Okay, I'll just write it for you. Um, it's a financial book, extremely simple to read and extremely popular over the years. But the actual stories involved in it, I think a good example would be if you are showcasing dialogue that takes place in the aftermath of it. Most people will not know how to follow up once certain responses are given. Okay, no problem, man. Um, I think a good example would be if you are showcasing dialogue that takes place in the aftermath of a relationship. Most people will not know how to follow up once certain response is given. Okay. One of the core parts of what I'm going to be going over is how important your interpretation of the events are. In other words, how to respond based on what the other person says, mostly to avoid pitfalls of making yourself look weak. That's a great point. That's a great point. It's not something I haven't thought about before, but I like the fact that because there are people that are looking for specific information that they can relate specifically to their information, specifically to their situation. Excuse me. University of Toronto. Huh. So what you're saying, Rob, if I'm correct, rather than just do past tense stories, do scenarios. Is that correct? So if a guy makes a phone call after the breakup looking to reconnect, and the ex-girlfriend says, "I went on a date tonight." Okay. And then you say, how would you respond to this? How the guy responds will really speak volumes about how she thinks of him. Yes. Yes. So scenario based. Okay. Cuz that's interesting. I don't know if I was thinking of it in that way. I like it. So let's just think about this for a minute, Rob, because this is kind of a, in that case, when the guy goes to reconnect, what does he say? What do you, Mary, and Rockstar? Thanks for the likes. I appreciate it, folks. Um, what would you say? Mary, May, we got Rockstar on. If a guy was like, I'll say I gotta go. Yeah, but if that's funny, if you want to reconnect and you've been single and she says, I went on a date tonight, what would you say, Rob? See, I don't if I don't know. See, if I wanted to reconnect with an ex, or I had like a slim amount of intention in that, before I made that call, I would want to make myself feel so, not make myself, I shouldn't say that. I would be in a position where I was prepared for that to be said, and if it was said, I would be neutral. Yeah, neutral. Yep. I would be neutral. I'd say, "Oh, okay." See, if you put, and yet you, here you are talking to me, I don't know if that's, well, yeah, because if you write, if you said, "Oh, good for you," right, and then you switch the conversation, that's fine. But if you threw in, and yet here you are talking to me, that could put the woman on the, like, well, we're just friends, right? RTM, GMRT, TMR. Do you have friends, Mac? Is that a real question? It was so hard when that happened to me, so I just smile and hope him the best. Was so hard when that happened to me, so I just smile and hope him the best. I'm sorry, I lost my spot here. The standard Corey Wayne response, neutral. I would make a joke out of it. Obviously, she didn't want to reconnect. I don't know that. I mean, if you contact someone else, here's the scenario. Like Rob's just giving an example off the top of his head, right? Um, well, the intricate part of that example is, what's the details? Like, how long have you been broken up? Why did you break up? Are you calling them with the intention of, you really, really, really want to hook up? Or are you just checking in and sniffing around for the possibility? I mean, there's so many variables to that. And that's something you can unpack in a scenario like that. That's a good point. I like that. Thanks, Rob. Scenario based situations. And I'm not even saying that this particular situation that you mentioned is one of the biggest ones, but I get your point. Thanks, Rockstar. Um, any sort of loss of one's emotional self center will basically ruin the chances for the guy trying to reconnect. Yeah, I mean, and for you to get centered, a lot of times you need time away. You need time away to lick your wounds, or discover who you want to be, or what you want to do, or discover what um, you're really excited about, or what you know. All right, Rob. You know my email, so if anything comes up that you're just like, "Ooh, this is a really good one," because you're a pretty deep thinker. If you want to just share it with me in an email, I'd be appreciative of it. I'm obviously got a lot on my plate and I'm looking at a lot of different things, but I'm extremely open. If someone has an opinion like yourself and you go, hey, I think this would be a really good scenario for you to unpack in a book or something like that. Feel free, because I know right now we're just kind of like, this is a live stream. We're talking about different things. Maybe something comes up or floats up. I was out of guard when he told me he met her. I didn't know if it was, hey, see me, I'm gonna move on. It's your last chance, or yeah, bye, you lost me already. I'm not sure what that's in regards to. I feel like that's a bit of information. It is 111 in is that supposed to be a wish time? Yeah, I can email you some insight. I'll have to sit down and write for you. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have the time, but if you do and it's something that you can help out with, I would be obliged. I was out of guard when he told me. She told me she liked me. She had a crush on me ever since college, and since we started talking, some interesting stuff has happened. Well, good for you, Dylan. Think it works just slightly differently when it happens to a girl in terms of how the interaction goes, but that's a good response. Yeah, I agree. The female male dynamic to certain situations does differ usually. It's really important to emphasize the notion of not losing the emotional center. I also find that it's not spoken of a lot in similar books. For some reason, lots ignore this time. Hmm. What would you say? What would you say? Because you've had a breakup, right? And you haven't really. I'm not sure if you sent your story into me or not, Rob, because it's been so long that you've been on the live streams. But I know a little bit about your breakup. Did you lose center? This is a direct question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but because you had an ex-convict with your ex, which I don't know the specifics otherwise, but you were pissed off about that, I think. Um, what brought you back to center? This is good. Because being centered is being stoic, right? It's being showing no pain, no pleasure. Oh, okay. But you did, like, let's just be honest. You did have heightened emotions, but you were just able to withhold them, or you were. How did you? For example, I'm saying that you weren't. You didn't show that you were pissed off because obviously deep down inside you had to have been for a moment, right? Ah, so what did you do to stay centered in a time when that would be tested, right? I mean, if anytime you break up, that's going to get tested, right? And so, for example, I would say that, especially with the text messaging that goes on now, you don't. The good part about that breakup, um, you basically can get a really nasty message or a message that upsets you, and you don't have to respond, right? Or the great neutral response to everything is okay. Just means I got it. That's one of the best messages you can respond to people, and it pisses them off sometimes. But it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna get into a joust with this. I'm just gonna say, okay, I got your message. The problem is that I couldn't read his intentions in the moment because my feelings were interfering. So I had told my emotions, smile, and wish him the best. Well, that's actually a good thing. I'm so centered now, nothing can really get me in that state. And what's gone into getting you to this point, Rob? Your research with Corey Wayne, your exercise routine, the fact that you really like your job. Am I missing something? Is there a spiritual practice or something? But where does that come from? Does it the confidence in who you are, does that come from the fact that you're really good at your job, that you make good money, that so you were short tempered, but now you learn to be more patient? Oh, I know you're talking to Rob. I had far less patience when I was younger, and that was probably just the fact that that's how my father was when I was young, and that's your role model. Patience are a virtue is an understatement. AC keeps going out. Okay. So I think that's a huge one. The fact that a lot of respect in my work field, I think is huge. Um, Having significance in your job, but also one term I'm going to talk about in the book is being proud and privileged of what you do. Isn't that a good way to put it? Kombucha. Um, Mixed herb kombucha. What's up, hippie chick? Um, it's not just goals are being accomplished. It's like I said, if you feel like you're important at your job and you're significant and you do good work, but I think the other part is like y- who you're with, your job, this feeling of being proud of what you do and privileged. I'm sure you feel that way. So it's a combination of being grateful, but also being really proud of your work and where you're at in it. And then also, I think the knowledge, the psych knowledge, and I would say at the base of psychology, if you had a base, people get into these attachment things and all these other things, is learning how the subconscious works. That's at the heart of everything. But what I've realized is that I've separated myself from almost all other guys I know, in the fact that I am in total control of myself and nothing gets to me, in a way of understanding almost 100% of the psychology behind everything. That's deep. And some people might say, this is funny, Rob, because some people might say, "Oh, you're being arrogant, or you're being cocky, or you can't, overcome everything." You probably, you'll probably have a moment in your life in the future that smacks you in the mouth and tests your center. That's fair to say, right? But that doesn't mean you're not going to get up off the mat a lot quicker than most, or you're not going to become more solution based, right? And so the funny thing is, people would look at that comment and they go, "Oh, this guy's really full of himself," which means the person that made the comment feels the direct opposite about about themselves, right? And so it's kind of like really interesting when you notice that when someone speaks like this, and you're like, good for you, man." I mean, there was years ago where I'd go, "Oh, this guy just thinks he's better than everyone else." Well, it's not about overcoming everything, as opposed to understanding the reasons why. Great point. That's actually at the core of Buddhism. See things as they are. That's one of the core messages. That's my point. Is some people would say you're being arrogant or you're being cocky, you're not very humble. But like, the greatest athletes in the world, they tend to believe that they're good. It's like a lot of times I'll remember something, which is something good, right? Have a good memory is a positive thing to have. It's a nice tool to have. It's a nice thing to think about yourself. So every time I think of something, or someone comes on, I think hippie chick, you're from South Carolina. You have a hairdresser shop, I believe. Could be wrong, but and then I'll go, I have a really good memory. I reinforce that in my own brain, and someone will be like, "Oh wow, you think you have a really good memory?" Yeah, I do, and therefore I do have a good memory. Does that make sense? I'm certainly not trying to showcase myself as any better than anyone. I just have experience. That's it. No, I don't think so. I'm saying that you have confidence by answering the questions in the way you have, and then you back them up with some of these things, and then you're not looking at it, and you were asked the question, right? Go for you. Kudos. Rob sounds sophisticated. Maybe he is sophisticated. Anyone else want to touch on this topic really quick about how do I stop judging my ex? How do I stop judging my breakup? How do I stop judging my ex's new boyfriend or new girlfriend or new partner? However you want to verbalize that. Measuring people at your values. This is another way to look at it. When you're judging people, full disclosure, I do sometimes because it's part of my job actually. You are measuring people at your values. But what you want to do in my field of coaching is you want people to start measuring themselves against their own values. Because if their values are conflicted with their identity, that's when people get really messed up mentally. Good memory. I was correct, hippie chick. See? And then I'll say, I have a good memory because I'll think of something. I have a good memory. I just reinforce it to myself. There's something positive that you do well, reinforce it to yourself and you'll get better and better at it. It's like I do this sometimes still. You misplace your keys and you're looking around for your keys. And the worst thing you can do is like, where the fuck are my keys? God damn it. I always lose my keys. I've done this before. And you start like panicking and getting upset with yourself. Take a step back and go, where did I put my keys? Where did I put my keys? And your brain's going to start sifting for solutions and ideas to the problem that actually fit the question. And then you'll usually find your keys. But if you sit there going around and around about, I can't find them, you're actually reinforcing to your mind that you won't find them. Keisha Shaw, late as usual, you do have a good memory. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I agree. It's hard to judge our exes if we focus completely on ourselves. Still trying to master that myself. Give yourself a little flexibility, rock star, because it's just. I think to completely focus on yourself. I mean, if you did like an 80-20, but definitely out of the breakup, you want to shift to yourself as an individual in a positive way and how you can improve. And it seems like such a blanket self-improvement type answer, and you need to frame that in a way that doesn't feel woo-woo or bullshitty, even if that's a word. You need to frame that in a way that makes you feel better about it, right? And so you can take negative judgments from people and turn them into gold. You could turn them into something good. I've talked about this before. It's like, how does someone lose weight? How does someone start going to the gym? How does someone overcome a health ailment? They take it as a challenge that they're going to overcome. They don't complain about it. They don't whine about it. They're like, I'm going to overcome this. They go Rocky on it, I'm good at folding clothes and laundry. Well, I can't. I forgot who it was. Rob, you might know. I forgot who it was that they say, I think it's Jim Rohn, or Jim Rohn, who's actually self-improvement speaker and different things like that. I'm not even sure if he's still alive, but he was Tony Robbins' mentor. And he was like, don't major in small things. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yep. A lot of people major in small things. Someone was just asking me yesterday. I was at lunch and they're like, oh, you do breakups or you do this. And I'm talking to them in the cafe and stuff. And they're really intrigued by it. And I'm telling them this. I'm telling them, I'm like, how did you start doing that? Telling this story, telling that story. And then they're like, well, why do you do just breakups? Why don't you do that? And I get this question a lot. Because you want to be a fucking specialist. You want to specialize. And people like to go to specialists. They don't like to go to someone that goes, oh, I can fix that. I can do that. Oh, I can do that too. They don't want to go to a restaurant that serves hamburgers, pizza, spaghetti, raviolis. Oh, we have tacos too. I mean, what's good? Oh, it's all good. Bullshit. Bullshit. If I want to get tacos, I want to go to a taco truck. If I want to get spaghetti bolognese, I want to go to an Italian restaurant that makes Italian food. You know what I mean? It's like, if I want help with my breakup, I don't want someone that goes, oh, I can give you financial advice. I can do this. I can do that. I can help you with all these things. One of the things that bleeds over from breakups is dating. And I don't consider myself a pickup artist, but I definitely can give you advice on dating. I can definitely give you an insight on that and let you unpack who you are and what you're looking for. But my main goal is to get at the center of helping you with the breakup. But the great thing about breakups is it's almost like a flower that blooms. It's actually an opportunity for you to grow. It's actually an opportunity down the road when the dots connect of your past, you're going to go, oh shit, that was a turning point in my fucking life. And hopefully someone might say, oh, Mac, you really helped me out. Someone just came on the live stream yesterday and was just like, what's up? At the end, this is so-and-so, and he's from the Bay Area. I remember the guy. And he's like, oh, 2 years ago. I'm like, 2 years ago we talked? I mean, what the fuck? He's got a new girlfriend. And he was down and out. I mean, we talked multiple times on live coaching sessions. He was going through it, right? Dropped him a compass in the map. Jim Rohn, okay, because he's old in some of the old videos. Are you the only child? Do you have siblings, Rob? Don't know. Yes, know of him. Don't sweat the small stuff is another one I book. So we just came up on an hour. We got 7 likes, 12 people. It's been lovely, right? Don't judge the Oakland A's hat. And if you think about it, here's a funny thing that I do when I judge. Sure, Rob, drop it. Final questions, go ahead, go for it. As we have 13, the highest we've had on the show so far. But the funny thing about when I'm talking about judging and I'm wearing this hat, this is really interesting to break this down even further, right? Someone might be judging the fact that there's a little dirty smudge there because they really don't like dirtiness on any kind of clothing article. Skinner's always in there. So someone else will judge it because of the way I'm wearing it, right? Someone else will go, I hate the A's, right? That's how I am usually when it comes to sports items. It's like someone has an LA Dodgers hat on, and I immediately don't like them for a moment. I don't even like sharing that because it's shallow as hell. But there's a guy I know that lives over here in Thailand. He always has an LA Dodgers hat on. And it's like growing up a San Francisco Giants fan, that's our rival. And it's kind of silly. And the guy will be like, oh, it's just a hat I have. Ha, ha, ha. And I'm like, why do you wear it bugs me. Because the LA Dodgers, San Francisco Giants rivalry was big. And you always wanted to like beat that team. Right. And so I'll see someone in that hat. I'll just instantly go, what the hell are you wearing a Dodgers hat for? And it's like, I even had someone I highly respect, someone that has another YouTube channel that I've had a chat with a few times. And I have a lot of respect for the guy. And the guy's not even a baseball fan. And he comes on and he has a Dodgers hat on all the time, like a crisp new. And I'm like, he goes, yeah, I don't even like the Dodgers. I just got it when I was in LA. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, take it off. But that's just judging him because I just don't like the Dodgers. And you see how much shit you can spin out of judgment based on past experiences or assumptions. It's just kind of funny. And I'm not saying that you can fix that. I'm just saying that's how the human mind works. And it just gets elevated. It gets really elevated in a breakup. Okay, so in any moments where you may feel like you are about to say something that might be out of line or your emotional self-center is tested, do you ever ask yourself a mental question? Is what I'm about to say going to help or hurt me in this instance? I guess like a think before you speak sort of way of proceeding. Excellent question. I do notice, and I haven't gotten completely consistent with it, full disclosure, when I've done regular hot yoga or I've done a regular meditation practice, which I've done pretty well recently. I've been doing the Jose Silva method, a 33-minute guided meditation off of YouTube with Jose Silva. I think it's his daughter or his granddaughter that guides it. Anyhow, I do notice that my reaction level, which I was always a person that would cut people off because I process really quick and I talk fast and I'm not scared to share my opinion. I do notice that especially after getting regular exercise or which I've always gotten exercise, but especially hot yoga or sauna or meditation will actually slow me down to where I'll actually feel my response not coming out of my mouth. And then I'll rethink, do you even want to say that right now? You can actually feel the old you responding or reacting quickly, but not verbalizing it or projecting that emotion. And I'm saying that meditation, saunas, and yoga are three things that I noticed immediately in doing those practices that help slow the mind down a little bit. That being said, um, I bring that up because I do that all the time. It's one of the things that separates those that are in total control and self-centered. How they articulate themselves in the moment are very good with their responses and quick reactions. Yeah, yeah. I'm not. I don't usually get muffled like, I don't know what I need to say. I've never been that way. But one thing that I test in my mind right now, um, and I don't know if it's in a live moment. And by the way, this is an excellent question. I don't know if it's in a live moment, but I will ask myself over and over again, what's your intentions? And I think that's a really good place to come from. But I did recently have an interaction with someone that was in my neighborhood that I'm still a little bit upset with, and something that they did, and it affected me, affected my household, and I'm pissed. And I held back because I just knew I would unleash some hurtful words to this person. And so I was able to redirect that more than once because I just knew here the yeah, in the moment I'd feel good because I would check them in some ways or I would hurt them verbally. But I was thinking to myself, then this is going to turn into World War III. I was just talking to someone about this. The funny thing about being reactionary towards someone that hurt you or upset you, which is human, is like, do you want to keep going with it? That's the question. I mean, if you combat it, where is this headed down the road? Do you want to entangle with an individual that has nothing to lose or has completely low standards and low values? It's going to go much lower than you're willing to go, right? And so I definitely mentally ask myself, yeah, I do mentally ask myself, and I do try to calm myself down. Um, I don't know if I say, is what I'm about to say going to help or hurt me in this instance? I don't say it in that way, but I also ask myself, what is it you really want from this? And if you responded in this way, I mean, what's the next part from that, right? Great way to put it, though, Rob. I like it. And that we've talked about like wisdom and different things before, but that's a really good point. Where are we at? 107. One thing that I've put in some of my affirmations is the Four Agreements, which is a book, and I believe it's to be impeccable with your word, to always do your best, which sounds very simple, but like if you can come back to these things, are very good things. To lead with good intentions. Great question. You're right. I'm not even a sports head, but I rep New York all day. Yeah. I'm just saying, this is a simple way for me to convey how much we do judgment outside of our ex, right? And so, and just based on appearance. And so what I'm saying is if you're in a breakup and you're putting eyes on your ex through pictures, through comments, you're just opening yourself up for natural judgment and judgment that's not going to serve you in most cases. I bring that up because I do that all the time and it's one of the things that separates me. Most cannot get to that level. It's really a thing of mastery if one can. I agree, Rob. And you'll look back and you'll go, wow, I'm glad I didn't react to that. I mean, it goes back to not acting, having a conversation when you're highly emotional with someone. If I'm in the moment and I'm emotional, then I won't have the moment before I speak to think about saying it. Yeah, that happens a lot. It takes a while to get to the level where you think before you speak. It's so true. It's mindfulness, and that's something I've been trying to get to struggle with because it's a real challenge. What helps with mindfulness is yoga, exercise, going for long walks in nature by yourself. I know that's people, well, I'm not near nature. It's like, okay, I'm just giving you examples. Um, Going for walks on a beach in the mountains by yourself and having self-reflection helps with those kinds of things. Uh, at a point in the past, it was for me as well. Once you get a handle on it, it's an amazing place to be at mentally. It's one of the things that really separates people, as simple as that concept may seem. So good. So good book. That's awesome. I can't wait to get where you're at. The Fifth Agreement. Oh, the Four Agreements. You like that book too? The Fifth Agreement and Book of Love is good too. Okay. What's up, Natural Green Thumb? I'm gonna be signing out soon, but let me know if you have any questions, Mary Heen. Anyone can do it, but you have to reinforce the methods. That's where most people fail. That's a great point. Is when you notice that you do something good. It goes back to when I say I have a good memory, right? Or sometimes it might even sound insecure to some people, but someone I'll be in the middle of a coaching session and I'll say something and someone will be like, "Yeah, that's exactly right." Or they'll say, "That's exactly what I was thinking," or "That was so true, but I didn't say it." And I'll go, "I'm good, huh?" And they'll start to laugh and they'll be like, "Yeah, you're good." That's me reinforcing that I'm doing a good job to myself, right? And that reinforces it in my mind that you're doing good work. And that just helps you, reinforce the things that you do well. So like Rob's saying, when he does that, I'm assuming that you notice when you do it and you're like, yeah, nice. You're probably subconsciously doing it at a level now if you've been doing it for a while, but you applaud yourself in a calm way. But you have to consciously be aware that's the key. Is if a person doesn't know the concept exists, they won't implement it in the framework of who they are. Great point, bud. Make sure you, if you do send me an email, if you do have the time or you want to touch on this, maybe mention that. I really appreciate that. And it's something I agree with. It's something I know about, but we all frame it in a different way. Those are the next books from the same author, which is Don Quieto. Don Quieto. I'm saying it wrong. You can correct me. All of them used to drive long hours. That's how I started audiobooks from Jim Rohn, actually. Wow. Yeah, someone was just telling me yesterday, one of the chapters I'm talking about is not necessarily, what's up, Mason? Is not necessarily, it's not a happiness book, but understanding what happiness is. And I said, I started to reflect at 39 years old, living in a few different cities and areas. What places did I really feel happier, more joy, more fun? And I came up with this interesting set of things that involved, like, I lived in San Diego, but I lived in 3 different apartments. I lived in, and this wasn't because I was down and out. I moved each year. I was single, right? Because someone was like, "Wow, you did a lot of moving. Were things rough?" No. And then, for example, let me just break it down as, like Rob says, give an example, which I think I do well. Three different places in San Diego in 3.5 or 4 years, 3.5 years, right? First apartment, first time living on my own, studio apartment, not very nice place, carpet, ugly, next to a KFC drive-in, right? Just to give you some context. There's a pool in the middle of it's a U-shaped thing. I've called it a ghetto Melrose place before. It had about 19 units and we were right next to each other. But the cool thing was the neighbors, everyone was in their 20s to early 30s, which I'm not even in that age range anymore. Most of the people were single. There was a couple couples, but you were very close quarters. So you're like, "Hey, what's up? What are you guys up to tonight?" Or my neighbor, we'd sit down and have a chat and have a beer or something. So there was a little bit of camaraderie within the complex. You'd go over and have a joint or have a beer, or and it was nice, but then you kind of got entangled with some neighbors that you didn't really like. So I mean, it was 50-50. There was some good camaraderie, and I was close to work. I was like 20 minutes from work, but the job I had, certain hours there was a lot of traffic. So what I noticed when I looked at where I lived, if it involved a lot of traffic, it did affect my mood. And I was just telling someone this, and I said, if you got a really big commute, it does affect your mood. It does affect your energy. And he responded, he goes, "Hey, look, I've been using that time effectively by listening to audiobooks. And I started laughing. I said, I've had a 45-minute commute to work for like the last 4 or 5 years. And I did the same thing, but it still drains you. It still drains you. And looking at places that I really like to live, and I came home in like a really fresh state and really good. They were 10 minutes from work and school. And once I was home, it was walking distance to places. So I'm just saying, I'm going to talk about this in the book, but I went through all these places I've lived in. I probably lived in, I don't know, 8 or 9 different places, cities, but different. Like you look at San Diego, it was the same city, but being in different areas brought different amenities, if you will. And the funny thing is, the places that I stayed at where I was quote unquote the happiest, or in the best state or the best place in my life, they weren't granite countertops, vaulted ceiling. The houses weren't beautiful. It was the environment. Think about that for a minute. It was the people I lived with. It was the convenience to shopping and different things like that, like not being far from driving somewhere, being close to nature. The best place I lived in San Diego was the closest place to the beach. It was a stone's throw to the beach. And so these things kind of line up. It was never, like I said, granite countertops, a 3-car garage, a 65-inch TV. It was never those things. And looking back, some of the times when you have those things, one place I lived in had all these amenities. It had like a game room. It had 2 pools, a hot tub, basketball courts. And I thought, this is going to be fucking grand. This is going to be great. And the way the rooms were lined up, there was no windows on the side. It was a 400-unit complex, but there was no camaraderie with, like, you went in it was almost like a hotel type situation. I just remember once you got into your place, you didn't go back outside. And so it's interesting. But traffic compared to living somewhere where you can actually walk to things really adds to joy to where you live. I don't know if people have been in that situation before. And then having camaraderie in your community, like you come home and you like your neighbors. And someone was like, "Oh, doesn't everyone?" No, there's sometimes it really affects your life when you come home, your safe place, and you don't like your neighbors, or you don't like that they have a dog that's barking all the time, or you guys don't really get along. So you go into your door and they go into your door and you don't even say hello. It affects things. It's little pieces. I usually buy the books and sorry. I've been in no contact for 2 months now, and my ex just must have been thinking about me and curious because she found out I unfollowed her, so she unfollowed me on one of her accounts. Well, it sounds like tit for tat, Mason. I don't know if that means that she necessarily was curious or that she just wanted to unfollow you because you unfollowed her. A lot of people put a lot of weight into unfollowing and someone blocking them, and the fact that you can LOL about it, outstanding. But keep moving, man. I mean, if they don't call up, don't put too much weight into it. If you've been 2 months in no contact, you're at a pace now where you want to stick with it. But I usually buy the books and read them in hotels. I just can't read online. I make hard copy books as well. I have several. I think, Mason, you sent me your story, right? But I didn't review it. Can you just clarify that? Because I don't think the story had a lot of details. The best feeling is knowing you're in control of who you are from a perspective of your thought process, your emotional center. If you can get to that point, everyone around you will recognize it. And you'll be happy with the person who lives inside your skin. Great point, Rob. I think one of the hardest parts to get to that point for a lot of people is dun 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 dun, myself included, your environments, the people you live with. If you're not taking inventory, they can sabotage that kind of a mindset, and you don't even know it's happening. I will find a way to buy a book in English so I can improve my grammar and vocabulary that way. Reading is the best way to do that. Outstanding. It's difficult to find books in English here. Okay. Can send them to you. It's usually changed me 3 times. Okay, you guys got a little interaction there. I can buy a super easy Kindle. I think I did, but I also wasn't sure if you sent through because I couldn't find it in my drafts. No, you sent me a story, but you need to elaborate a little bit more. Let me go back through it, and I'll reply to you in the next day. Oh, is that what it was? Okay. Okay. Let me look back at it because whenever I see the name Mason Dykstra, this is random, but I always think of Lenny Dykstra, the Phillies center fielder. Rob will know who that is. He's a baseball guy. Mason Dykstra. See how the mind works? It tries to correlate with something else. I used to like Lenny Dykstra. All right, we got 10 likes, 13 people on deck. It's been grand. It's been good. You remember the night? Yeah, Lenny Dykstra, dude. He was great. He's a Met, too. I think he was on the Mets the year they won. I could be wrong, but he's center fielder, yeah. Yeah, I love my sports, man. Part of the reason I think I have such a good memory is I used to remember the baseball card stats and box scores of the sports. That's why I used to live in the library in my university. I used to rent a private room in that library. Good times. I love libraries. That's actually I tell people this when I was in my bad breakup. That was a place I really liked because it was quiet and calming. Yeah. There's a story about Dykstra that he started a bunch of car washes and was a highly successful businessman. Oh, I bet. A good library is nice. It's almost like a church for books. It's quiet. Everyone's calm. That's why I tell people, sometimes when you're really on edge and you don't feel good about things or things in your life, being in a quiet place like a library is just calming. If everyone's following library rules, which number one rule in the library is shh, right? And it's just like, everyone's whispering, talking like this. It's like it's pretty hard to get too amped when you're in a library. And there's something about the collective subconscious of a group. And if everyone you're interacting with within the library is calm, it calms you down. But yeah, I agree with you on the unfollowing thing. But I was just saying she was looking to see if I did or not. For sure. I'm with you, bud. I'm with you. What are you studying, May? Just out of curiosity. We'll have to get to that next time. Will this help or hurt my intentions? One problem here. UDLAP. I'm sorry, what is that? Or where is that? U, UCLA? One problem here is that too many people place video games on the library computer. Oh, really? I haven't been in, it's interesting being here in Thailand. I haven't been to a really, really exceptional library in a long time. Okay. What are you studying? The NBA player that I was talking about yesterday, um, maybe you know him. His last name, Toscana Anderson. No, I know. I know it's in Mexico, but I'm saying, what are you studying? What history or? I'm always interested in what someone's majoring in. Toscana, I study actuarial science and a master's in finance. What's I'm not what is actuarial science? I'm kind of curious. I've never heard that term. Finance is always useful. Go work in the Cayman Islands. Have you ever thought about matchmaking? You seem to be able to read people and connect with people good. That's funny you mentioned that, Keisha. That's a really good question. And I'm glad you asked it. 2 or 3 days ago, I was just thinking about, because right now I'm working with someone in the Silicon Valley about creating a platform where other people can do what I do, um, breakup coaching. It's like if Rob seems like someone that's kind of knowledgeable and interested, maybe possibly in doing similar to what I'm doing, and he could put his profile up and say, if you need help with a breakup. I'm just giving this as an example. Um, um, and I was thinking to myself, well, because everyone does dating apps and everyone complains about dating apps, Keisha. And the funny thing is they complain about the dating apps, right? But then they keep going on them, or they do this, and sometimes they work. But I thought to myself, why isn't there more matchmaking services? And I'm sure there is, right? I mean, I'm sure there is, Keisha. But I have, being that I talk to people from around the world with coaching through breakups, I have met people before, and I've been like, oh, that would be really cool if I could introduce them to this guy or this woman. So it has come up in my mind before, but I'll take that as a really nice compliment. I appreciate it. What's up, La La Liz? How are you? I can go more in depth about my situation when you get back to me, though. I just didn't want to send you tons of paragraphs. Rob is flirty low key, but I really think you'd be good. Oh, I appreciate that. Do you ever? I've had this even when I'm on a live stream. Like, what do you mean by that? And someone's like, it's actually a compliment, and I'm like, oh, okay. I just didn't know what you meant, right? It's like, what do you mean I'm low key? Like that could mean so many things, right? I was just giving an example that Rob tends to chime in, give information, and my whole thing is through my own journey is like I believe other people can help people out with breakups in the sense that I have my own style, I have my own flavor to it, and I do a good job and I do good work. But I absolutely welcome the idea that someone else can help other people doing what I do and not have to be a PhD or Joe the master's degree in fucking 15 different things, which is cool. I think that's great. My point being, though, I don't think we're at a point now in the 21st century in the year 2020, and I've dealt with this as a teacher for years. If someone walks in, they got a PhD in this, they got a master's in this, they got a PhD in this, they got this designation. Cool, neat. We work at the same school and we're both teachers, right? And then they just keep like throwing that out there, and you're like, oh, nice, dude. I mean, let's let the students decide if you're a really good teacher. Well, I have this and this designation. Okay, nice. According to Wikipedia, actuarial science is a discipline that applies mathematical and statistical methods to assess risk in insurance and finance. Wow, that sounds detailed, huh? Okay, cool. Good for you. You're going to be a specialist then. That sounds actually highly useful in the finance world. I got you, Rob. I was just using it as an example that if someone was interested, the platform I'm working towards building, people could do it part-time. People could do it. I'm only available on the weekends. I'm available live. I'm really excited about it. And my partner that I'm working with probably would be like, don't mention it. Someone else will do it. But well, Keisha, the thing is when you're open-minded, you trust someone, sure. Cough, lies, cough. What do you mean? How would you assess their experience and being good at it? That's a good question. That's what I'm working towards. What about Wiggins on the Warriors? Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's I thought it was the right move to make. D'Angelo Russell, they seem to think is a much better player. I think he's more clutch, but here's one thing that Rob, you're gonna go down this rabbit hole because I can talk basketball, especially Warriors. I'm a huge Warriors fan. I was actually a season ticket holder when Mike Dunleavy was on the team and Troy Murphy. So I was in the rugged years. But oh well, I mean that's pie in the sky that we're gonna get. What's his name? The Greek Freak, right? I mean, if that happened, great. But Wiggins is a good fit. He doesn't have to be a superstar. He's actually better than a lot of people give him credit for. And here's what I look at, and I'm really into like breaking down someone's stats and stuff. And everyone goes, "Oh, how much points do they average? Oh, how do they do this? How do they do that?" You know what you look at? You want to know what you look at, Rob Mason? It seems like you're a basketball fan because you got some Jordans on your picture, I think, or something. All right, right. If you look at like the great players, check their fucking free throw percentage and check how many games they miss. That's one thing that's amazing about LeBron. He doesn't miss games. I'm not sure of his free throw percentage, but there's the great players in the game are all over 80%. And they definitely shoot over 45% from the field, and they definitely shoot over like 38 to 39 from three. And you just look at those, they usually, if you go through people's stats, and they usually stay in the same vicinity over their career. They are who they are. And like, for example, the thing I like about Wiggins, he's missed like 2 games in 5 years. Yes, he is a little bit lackadaisical and lazy, but he's played on a shit team for years. He's averaged 23. His shooting percentages are pretty good overall. He plays much better defense, even though he's rated low on defense. D'Angelo Russell's a 0 on D. So do I like it? Yes. Do I think that Wiggins is overpaid? Yes, but so is half the league. That's the other thing. And the Warriors don't care because they're printing money right now. Might I have to break up advice somewhere else? Then I'm a LeBron fan. I Mason, I'm a LeBron fan. I don't root for his team, but I have a high level of respect for him. I don't have anything wrong with LeBron. So I'm a team fan first. I don't go player. Some people are players first. Usually people that are players first never grew up with a home team. A friend of mine is a Russell Westbrook fan first, a team fan second. So as soon as Russell Westbrook got traded, he's a Rockets fan. That's just how he rolls. Okay, folks, I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to go get my lunch, and it's been a pleasure. Thanks for rolling. We got 10 likes today, 14 on deck. It's been good. It's been real good, and it's going to be tip of the hat, curtains.